Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Your Sweetest Life with Stephanie J. I'm Stephanie J. This is a podcast as well as a video. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you get the video version. If you're listening on the podcast, you can listen while you're driving, but don't watch because you have to be careful. So this month, as we enter June, this year's gone so fast. I can't believe we're already at the 6th month of the year, like halfway through the year. And so a couple years ago, I did a 10 tips for healthier living. I've revamped it because everything is still very applicable, but I wanted to hit this mid-year and kind of talk about 10 tips for living healthier. But before we get into the tips, I do want to talk a little bit more about some of the myths that we're talking about going through this year of health and wellness. And I don't want to talk about diets. I don't want to talk about specific exercise programs. I mean, I think those, if they work for you, are great, but sustaining overall health is the goal to keep ourselves healthy and strong and living long, productive lives. A lot of times there's so many different exercise programs and diet programs, and I go on all these videos because, I'm like, oh, lose fat fast. Let me see what this says. And at the end of all of that, it really comes down to discipline and consistency and doing things that are heading you in the direction you want to see. So if you do want to have better health, if you do want to have more energy, you're going to have to do something. I've been teaching health and nutrition for about 5 years, about 4 or 5 years, but I've been a nurse for over 24 years. And I've worked in pediatrics. What I found in the last 8 years, I moved to outpatient pediatrics with young adults. And I'm seeing some of the same chronic illnesses that used to only be adult illnesses we're seeing in our kids. Adult onset diabetes, hypertension. We never saw that in kids unless kids had a chronic illness from birth. We never saw it develop it from lifestyle. And we're starting to see that happen in the healthcare realm. And that's really scary because I work with teenagers, and I would say a large portion of the patients that I care for, there's a good portion of them that have hypertension and type 2 diabetes, which are two things that historically were only seen by adults. So I wanted to focus on small, sustainable steps, because the thing is, when I teach nutrition and health, I tell people that these diets that you're making, like complete changes, some people can stick to them. That's a small number of people. The majority of people, that's going to happen for that period of time, for that wedding, for that vacation, to get that body for that period of time, but not over the long haul of your life. And so I do have some notes here. So if you see me looking down, I got my notes on my phone. I'm just going to put it up here so I can see it a little better. But I want to talk a little bit about those small little power steps, because I don't think we give it enough recognition. So when you're talking about, say, we'll use the easiest one, losing weight. You don't lose all your weight in one day. You lose your weight slowly. You lose your weight 1 pound, 2 pounds at a time. According to medicine and research, that if you lose weight quickly, you're more likely to rebound and gain that weight back. And it's also not the healthiest way for you to maintain muscle, because usually if you're losing a lot of weight quickly, you're going to be losing some muscle. And that's so valuable for our blood sugars, for our body functioning, and especially as you age. As you age, muscle is very important. So let's say you want to run a marathon. Same thing. You're not going to just get out and start running. I don't even know how long a marathon is. What, 26 miles or something like that? I don't know. I never ran a marathon. But you don't just start running a marathon. Even seasoned marathon runners, they take the marathon, they do a certain amount of miles one day, certain amount of miles the next day, certain amount of miles the next day, until they get up to the marathon length. They don't just jump in and start doing it and expect to have a great result and they're going to win the race or they're going to finish strong. No, because they know that it takes building your endurance. So that's one of the things that I want to talk a little about, is building your endurance with small, simple steps. There's Dr. James Hill, director of the Center for Human Nutrition at the University of Colorado, says small steps are achievable and easier to fit into your daily routine. And that's the key. Consistency over intensity. Even with exercise, when you think about people building muscle takes time to build. It doesn't just overnight you lift some weights and you got muscles. Well, there's a lot of things that play into that, right? You build muscle, you work out, resistance, heavy resistance training. You eat higher protein so that your body is utilizing the protein for healing as well as for muscle healing when you tear those fibers. And it's small, simple steps. You'll see bodybuilders, small growth, small losses. So it takes small, simple steps. So we're going to talk about that because if you think about it, when you start to look at things being such big expectations, it gets overwhelming. When I teach nutrition and health, I teach it from a perspective of making small changes, starting to read your labels, looking at your labels, seeing what you're putting in your body, being more aware of what you're eating. I start there by talking about micronutrients and macronutrients. We talk about protein. What is a protein? What is a carbohydrate? What is a fat? And I start with those simple steps because I feel like most people that I teach nutrition to don't really understand what those are and how they play into your body. Because your body is more than just skin and bones and muscle and fat. Your body is a chemical machine and it operates from a chemical perspective. So when you're taking care of your body, when you're feeding your body, when you're nourishing your body, when you're giving your body resistance training, when you're doing those things, there's chemical occurrences that are happening in your body. And we have to be aware of that. So what you eat affects that chemical balance. How you treat your body. Sleep affects your body. So tip number 1, keep an eye on your weight, but don't obsess about it. So what that means is, you know how, especially for us women who are postmenopausal, even for men who are getting older, your weight will start to creep up. Slowly, all of a sudden you gain 2 pounds and then 3 pounds. And then as you get older, those pounds stay on, they don't come off as quickly. So track your weight. Just try to track it like once a month or every 2 weeks, and just be aware of what you're eating and how it's impacting your body, because you don't have to do this drastic change, right? You just have to be aware when those small changes come. Those are easy. You don't have to be like stressed about it. Just weigh yourself or do body measurements, even better. Body measurements are a better indicator of your body composition changes. So for me personally, my weight doesn't always change very much when my body is in recomposition. My body composition will change, my waist will go down, my hips will go down, but my body weight will stay the same. So you can either measure your body weight, but also do measurements on your hips, your waist, your arms, your neck, your thighs, so that you can see small changes, because you may not see it in your weight, but you may see it in inches on your body. Tip number 2, move more step by step. This is something I started incorporating more into my personal life. I personally was like, lift weights in the morning. I did my morning workout, and then I work a sedentary job. I would sit at my desk and I would move, like to go to the bathroom, but I wasn't really aware of taking steps. In the last 2 to 3 years, especially the last 2 years, I've really made an effort to get between 8 and 10,000 steps a day. And that takes an effort. I have to actually think, okay, I look at my watch, how many steps have I taken? Like today, I think I have to go take a walk, either outside or on my treadmill, because I'm trying to get to 8 to 10,000 steps every day. And you have to be aware of it. Try working standing up. Alternate standing and sitting while you're working. So instead of sitting sedentary your whole day at work, get up and stand up and work for a little bit. Put together, a standing desk, or like I do, I work back here on my sideboard when I work from home. When I work in my office, I have a standing desk I work at. Try standing up. Set your goal first. If you aren't normally taking steps, don't try to go for 10,000 steps. Start low. Start taking, 2,000 steps. If you have an Apple Watch or something that measures your steps, see what your normal steps are, and then try to increase that by 1,000 to 2,000 every week. But make an effort at your lunchtime, right after you have lunch, instead of sitting and talking with everybody, gossiping in the break room or gossiping on the floor, go take a walk. Or with the people who you're sitting there talking with at lunch, eat your lunch and go take a 30-minute walk. These are little simple steps that you can use to move forward, excuse me, and increase your step. Over time, you will get to that 10,000 steps if you want to. For me, 10,000 steps is really hard to do during the day. So I shoot for 8 to 10. Number 3, eat breakfast. Now, breakfast doesn't always mean pancakes and waffles and, excuse me, guys, all those things that are normal breakfast things. You can have leftover chicken for breakfast. You can have leftover steak with some eggs. Start with a high protein breakfast. So 30 to 50 grams of protein for breakfast, a savory breakfast so they can keep your blood sugar more level, because when you have something sweet for breakfast, it automatically spikes your blood sugar. You will automatically start off. And if your insulin is resistant at this time in your life, it's going to be harder to get that blood sugar back to a nice level, blood sugar level. Normally, our blood sugar spike, but they come down. When your insulin isn't operating correctly, they go up and then they stay up and they don't come down. If you start your day with a savory breakfast like eggs, like any type of meat, you can start with steak. If you start with something like that, or high protein, you're more likely not to spike your blood sugar early in the day, and you're going to get more protein in. So try to start your day with 30 to 50 grams of protein. What does that look like? You can do a cup of egg whites and an egg and add some type of breakfast meat to that and make that into an omelet and add veggies with that. So you have fiber in it, and you can add some tomatoes, get some lysine in there. So be creative, but you can add cottage cheese to your eggs so you can have another 18 grams of protein added in. Start your day with a high protein, and then for lunch, you have 30 grams of protein. So you have some sort of meat source or fish or salmon or shrimp, and you have that with a salad. And then for dinner, you have a protein, whether it be a meat protein or a vegan protein, to finish off your day. And then if you're lucky and you have a little leftover protein, you can have some Greek yogurt. You can have a protein shake. You can go to my website and get that strawberry protein shake, which is one of my favorite ways to close out my night. But have some food in the morning. Have something to get your day started, get your brain working. You wouldn't send your kids to school with no food, right? You wouldn't send them starving. So why do you allow yourself to go to work? Don't start with your sweet coffee. If you're going to have your coffee with nothing in it. If you start your coffee putting creamer in it that has sugar, spiking your blood sugar. All right, number 4, choose whole grains over refined ones. And what does that mean? When you get white rice and it says enriched, that is refined, because they take out all of the nutrients that are normally found in rice and then they put artificial ones in. So you want to have things like farro, you want to have brown rice. We are jasmine rice, because I like jasmine rice because it is just jasmine rice. If you read the package, there's nothing enriched. Or quinoa. Quinoa is another great choice, and that has a lot of protein in it as well. Number 5 tip, eat 1 green salad a day. I always usually have mine at lunch. If I don't have it at lunch, I have it at dinner. But the reason it's really good, you get lots of fiber in that meal. You get lots of nutrients, micronutrients in your meal if you have a salad a day. And you can do things like, I do jar salads. I start at the bottom with my salad dressing. I add in the cucumbers, tomatoes. Then I add in my greens. And then I add my toppings. So whether it be a protein, nuts, or anything like that, those go at the top. I dump that into a bowl at lunchtime at work, and I've got my salad. Really quick and easy. And you can prep those for the beginning of the week for the whole week. So you're going to have salads for the whole week, all ready to go. Pull them out in the morning. Quick and easy. Number 6, trim the fat without losing flavor. Not all fat is bad. Not all fat is bad. There's a lot of, controversy about whether having chicken with the skin or chicken without the skin. I've been trying to do more research on it. And one of the things I'm finding is that when you eat meats that have their natural fats, like if you have steak that has some fat to it, if you have a chicken skin, those are natural fats. Those are healthier versions of fat. Now, if you're on a diet from your physician that tells you to lower your fat, then you want to eliminate some of those, but you want to keep healthy fats in. So you want to eliminate the fats that are unhealthy. And you want to try to incorporate the healthier fats like olive oil, avocado oil, avocados. Those are all good options. So leaner meat, if you are on a low-fat diet, choose leaner meats. Have the chicken thighs without the skin, or have chicken breasts. Great options. And then using non-stick spray is a way that you can minimize that sticking. And that could be olive oil or avocado oil spray. Number 7, include more calcium-rich foods. We're adults and we forget that our bones still need to be strong, especially for us women, because as you go through menopause and you lose your estrogen, guess what? Your bone density can be highly affected. That's why muscle is important. It's one of the reasons muscle is important. But you also want to include low-fat yogurt, even high-fat yogurt. If your body can utilize the higher fat content, which is still really good for you, for your brain, for your development, for your muscles, for your health, do the higher fat if you can. Otherwise, do a low fat. Do milk or plant-based milk that's fortified. Those are good options. We still want to keep our teeth strong because I want to keep these teeth as long as I can keep these originals. I'm keeping my original teeth. I want to keep all my bones. So if I fall, the majority, and this is I don't know the exact numbers, but elderly people, when they break their hip, I don't know what the percentage is. It's really high that is usually the thing that causes them to decline. So the longer you can keep your muscles strong and healthy, the better you can keep those strong and healthy, the better your longevity in life and your safety. It's really important for you to keep those bones strong. So calcium. Number 8, downsize your portion. So if you are looking to decrease your weight and you still want to enjoy some foods that you want to enjoy, just eat smaller portions or eat a portion size. Most of the time when people eat potato chips, we'll give that example, they just take potato chips out the bag. They don't really measure them. If you weigh an ounce, it's about 160 calories, depending on the chip. 160 calories, and include it in your macros and have your chips, but do that portion size. And then another little tip that I use is I used to always use a smaller plate. So I would have my protein and then I would have my vegetables and I'd have a little bit of carb, but I used a smaller plate so that my serving size was smaller. So you can try that as well. And number 9, lose 5 to 10% of your current weight. And that extra body weight could be the thing that is keeping yourself unhealthy. How do you do that? By movement, by reading your labels, by eating healthy, whole foods, staying active, sleeping well, getting 7 to 8 hours sleep a night. And then lastly, keep a food journal. I always tell people when they first start thinking about losing weight that they want to cut all these things and get rid of this. And they don't, and it says, everything you read will say calorie deficit, what does a calorie deficit even mean? If you don't know how many calories you're taking in, then you don't know what a calorie deficit looks like. For me, a calorie deficit, because I usually monitor my food intake, I take about 1,600 calories a day, 1,400 to 1,600. So a calorie deficit for me would be a couple hundred calories less. So if I normally take 1,600, a calorie deficit for me will be around 1,400 calories now a day. Now, if you don't know what you're eating and you're just grabbing things and you're eating and you're not monitoring that, and you don't know what you're taking in, then you don't know how. So many people cut way too much. I've seen people who go on diets and they cut way too much, down to 1,000 calories. Well, now your body's holding on to fat because your body thinks you're starving. So your body's holding on to fat. So keep a food journal, be aware of what you're eating, and then go from that point to figure out what a calorie deficit, if you need to take one, looks like for you. So I hope these tips are helpful. I mean, I've used these throughout the years, even before I was menopausal to now, and I'm even noticing in my postmenopausal state that they are still working for me. I've made some adjustments. I used to do high impact cardio, HIIT training. I did that 5-6 days a week, and I still lifted weights. I found out now that for me and my body as I'm aging, that walking is doing wonders. Getting my steps in is doing wonders. Doing a couple HIIT workouts and continuing to lift heavy weights at least 4 times a week is what's working for me. And I'm seeing changes in my body composition that I haven't seen in a while. So I want to encourage anyone out there who's looking for a healthier lifestyle, along with losing a little bit of weight, to follow some of these tips. Make small changes one at a time. Even if it's something small, it's going to have a good outcome. Consistency, discipline, keep it going, you guys. Your life means more than just skin and bones and your career. Your life means something to somebody, and your longevity means something to somebody. So thank you for tuning in to Your Sweetest Life with Stephanie J. I hope these hips are here. I hope these tips are helpful. And comment below one of these tips that you will be trying in the month of June. At least one, if not 2 or more. Comment ways that they've impacted you in a positive way, and I hope that you are keeping on reaching for your sweetest life. Have a fabulous day. Have a fabulous week. Have a fabulous month. Catch you on the next video. Bye, guys.